Ryan Easterling of Illini Playbook here with Scott Burgess of Chicago Hoops, here to wrap up the action at the EYBL event in Minneapolis and take a look back at the weekend that was. But rather than look at some of the top performers of just today here at Monday, we're going to take a look at some different categories throughout the weekend, starting off with a guy that really surprised you. Scott, go ahead and lead us off.
Yeah, Team Texas Elite is one of the more talented teams out of the South here, and a player that really surprised me was Matt McQuaid on Friday. Really impressed both of us. A player that is a little bit under the radar, attacked the hoop strong, shot the ball well as the game went on, but was just very aggressive and assertive throughout the game. And he actually ended up hitting the game-winning three. He had 28 points, and he was the one guy that they didn't want to leave open. And he slipped backdoor and hit a shot from the corner for the win for Team Texas Elite.
Yeah, I think one guy that surprised me quite a bit was Larry Austin from Springfield Lanphier. Playing with the St. Louis Eagles, I think enabled him to really play the way he's able to play. And having seen him a couple times this past high school season, playing out of place, it really didn't seem like he was as comfortable as he was this weekend. And seeing what he was able to do this weekend, I think it really enabled him to play well. And I think it surprised me how much he's developed as a point guard, having not seen that all season with his high school. So I think that was one of the things that really stood out to me. But next we're going to take a look at some of the more clutch performances of the weekend.
Yeah, another early tournament performance was Alabama Challenge versus Oakland Soldiers. Devin Booker going head-to-head with Stanley Johnson. The Oakland Soldiers struggled a little bit in the first half. Booker got going early, put some points up on Stanley Johnson, and one of the most versatile wings in that class, great defender. Stanley Johnson said, "Okay, no more of this." Second half, he just went off. He got to the hoop at will. Anytime he wanted, he got anywhere on the floor. Power wing, good handle. One of the areas I was really impressed with is his shot this week, and I didn't think he could shoot the ball that well, and he really defended in the second half. He got in passing lane and, led his team all the way back for a victory in that game, which was very, very impressive.
Yeah, and I think one of the guys that really stood out to me was Trevon Blewett. In a game where James Blackman started off struggling a little bit, it was Blewett that carried them through the tough times in that game against the St. Louis Eagles. And with Blackman starting to catch fire late in the second half, they had the ball with a chance to win the game with a few seconds left, and everybody thought it was going to Blackman, but I had a feeling it was going to Blewett. And of course, the very prolific scorer came through for his team. He hit a running floater in the lane with about a second and a half left, and really it doesn't surprise me because he's come so far this spring, and everybody knew he was a deadly scorer, but he's just proven that time and time again. And now we proved that he can handle the big game situations and hit the big shots whenever he's expected to. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Scott, though, to talk about a guy that played well this weekend that we think might be a little underrated.
Yeah, both the guys in this category for us are still, top 50, top 75 guys. But Reed Travis really impressed me, obviously playing here in his home state for Howard Pulley. Just a kid that's so tough on the interior, grinds it out, does all the dirty work for his team, but he also has skill. He can score on the block, had some pick and pop stuff, works really well with Tyus Jones, and just did one of the areas I was really impressed with actually was his post defense. He really defended the post well, wouldn't let his man get deep post position, boxed out well, so I was really impressed with him. And another guy, Ryan's going to talk about this, very similar in many ways.
Yeah, another one of those top 50, top 75 guys. There's a guy we have in the 50s range on ours, in our rankings, is Jayshawn Tate. And every time I see him, I'm just more and more impressed with what he's able to do. He's just so physical, so strong, but he proves that he can score from inside, score from outside. He plays great defense. He's got a ton of energy. He's just strong. I think anytime I see him, I just feel like maybe he could push into that 30 to 40 range, maybe even into the top 20s if he continues to play so well. Obviously, it's going to hurt him a little bit having the shoulder injury this weekend, especially if it sits him out for the Peach Jam. But Jayshawn Tate, over the last couple times I've seen him play, has just really, really impressed me. But anyway, we're going to go and move on now to one of our favorite moments of the weekend. I think for both of us, it's really the whole weekend. There was just one theme to this weekend that really made it something interesting.
Yeah, we've been to a lot of AAU tournaments in our our careers. One thing I've never seen is the crowd support that local team Howard Pulley has. Obviously, they have the superstar hometown hero Tyus Jones. You expect there to be people here, obviously. With this type of tournament and this type of field, you expect them to draw a crowd. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, the first game I wanted to see them play, I had them booked for on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. game. We got here about 5 minutes before the game started. I could barely even get a seat. I mean, it was nuts. They're actually playing their last game right now. You can't even see the game right now. It's ridiculous. And just the fan support and, talking to some people here, it seems like, they don't get this type of talent on a consistent basis. Obviously, they also have Rashad Vaughn, one of the top players, played for Wisconsin Playground out of the state of Minnesota. But Tyus Jones is their hometown hero, and he's going to be a guy that these people are going to watch and follow throughout his career. And just that he's a great kid, and everyone just loves him here.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive because right now there's probably upwards of 300 people at this game, and I have never seen anything like that. The biggest crowd I've seen was for Fire and Spiece at the Spiece Run and Slam last year, and that was standing room only, but this has been unbelievable. There are people backed up 3 and 4 and 5 rows deep, just standing behind the backs of the bleachers trying to get a glimpse of this game. And both being from Chicago, obviously there's so much talent in that state, but even with the top guys that are from Chicago, you never see this sort of draw. So this is something really special for these guys here in Minneapolis in this area to be able to see a kid who's so highly ranked but so tied with the community to be able to come out here and just play the game he loves. So I think that's a really special moment, not only for the city but for Tyus Jones as well, because I know he really appreciates the support from the hometown crowd. Now we're going to go and shift it a little bit and talk about a young guy we saw this weekend. We think has a lot of potential, but maybe hasn't quite tapped into all of it yet. I'm going to hand it over to Scott for the first one.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about a couple of guys. Dedrick Lawson really impressed me for Team Penny out of Memphis. He has an older brother that in that 2015 class is also known, but Dedrick was the best player in their game that I saw. Versatile forward, can do a lot of things, scored well around the hoop, but early, quick, aggressive moves around the basket, nice hook shot. And then as the game went on, he moved out to the perimeter, starting going to the hoop a little bit more, actually hit some jump shots, hit a nice top of the key jumper. So I really liked his game, and then I think he's got a lot of potential. And then the talk of the day early on Saturday was Thon Maker, 7 foot, kind of a forward with Boo Williams, just really long, really athletic, moves well, runs the floor, awesome, better than any 7-footer I might have ever seen. In the game I actually watched, he didn't really get a lot done, but you can see the potential. He's going to be a future pro down the road, and he's just all upside right now.
Yeah, and Thon Maker, just a freshman this past year, so it's unbelievable to think that he's so skilled so early. The guy I think that has a ton of potential, great size, just needs to put it together and kind of learn to play the mental aspect of the game a little better is Elijah Thomas. I mean, he had a pretty good weekend, solid weekend, but he seemed like he got frustrated pretty easily sometimes, and I think he let it get him down. But once he gets past that, this kid's going to be an animal. 6'10", thick body, very strong, excellent post moves already. I think once he starts to put it together, starts to just put his head down and play through the adversity, he's going to be an interesting guy to watch, and I think he's going to be really, really up top in terms of the rankings and where he establishes himself, because you can't teach that size and that skill we've seen with guys like Jalil Okafor. Guys who have that kind of skill that early turn out to be pretty special. And in terms of, we've talked about our players that we really like. Tell me a little bit about a team that you thought really played well this weekend.
Yeah, despite taking a loss yesterday, I've been really impressed with Houston Hoops in the two games I saw. One of the top teams in the Nike EYBL, just loaded on the wing especially. You got Kelly Oubre, who I thought played really well. Lefty power wing, shot it well consistently throughout the weekend. Justin Jackson, who North Carolina commit, so smooth with the ball on the perimeter, great mid-range game, plus shooter. His length's going to play well at the next level, going to really fit in that North Carolina system. And then Justice Winslow, who's another power wing for them, does a lot. Really high basketball IQ, smart player, tough down low, and just a great leader. You can see, he's going to be a great leader at the next level. He's obviously one of the top players in the country. And then also De'Aaron Fox is the 2016 kid at that guard spot that really impressed me. So they're going to be one of the top contenders at the Peach Jam.
Yeah, one of the teams I've had a chance to track all spring, especially into this event, is the Spiece Indy Heat from the Indianas. And obviously this weekend they didn't have Jaquan Lyle, but it didn't stop them. They went 4-0 this weekend even without Jaquan Lyle, but it was because a lot of their other players stepped up and filled the gap. James Blackman had a big weekend. Trayvon Blewett continued to score the basketball. Trey Lyles is coming back strong from that injury. You're seeing some of the younger guys. 2016, Caleb Swanigan. I mean, he's 6'8", 6'9", 280 pounds as a freshman. This kid is huge. And, of course, Steve McElvain. They're big from top to bottom, but they're a team that just knows how to play even without their best players. And even without Lyle, once they get him back, they're going to be a dangerous team in this Peach Jam. They won their division. They won their pool. And I think that they're showing that they're not just a couple guys at the top, that they're actually a full team, and that even without one of their guys, they can still go out and play and win and be successful in the EYBL against some of the best talent in the country. But now the moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to talk a little bit about the guys the individuals who stood out the most to us this weekend. Scott, give me your MVP.
There were a lot of choices for this. Obviously, Tyus Jones played great all weekend. I talked about Stanley Johnson a little bit earlier with the Oakland Soldiers. He always brings effort. But, out of the state of Minnesota, Rashad Vaughn with Wisconsin Playground was awesome. Can score in so many ways. Just makes it look so easy. Gets to the basket anytime he wants. Good mid-range game. Can shoot it from deep. Scores at all three levels. Great in transition. Gets out and run. Powerful around the hoop, and he's just so efficient with what he does. And I think he's going to be one of those college-ready guys, a little bit like we talked about yesterday, that's going to come into the game and just be an impact player from day one, and one of the best players in college basketball in 2 years.
Yeah, and if you've been following us all week, you probably already know who my favorite player this weekend was, and that was Cliff Alexander. Nobody was more physically dominant. Nobody was more energetic than Cliff Alexander all weekend. But the thing was, Cliff just stepped up whenever his name was called. With that injury to Jalil Okafor, Cliff had to play a lot of minutes this weekend. But you could tell even through his high school season, he was used to playing full games. His conditioning was in good spirits. He was good there. He was very excited the whole weekend. And Cliff's an energy guy. Whenever he starts getting dunks, he just goes into a different mode and he ratchets it up another notch. But the thing that impressed me the most, as I mentioned, is that Cliff is starting to show that skill game. He showed that he could step out. Cliff's not just the dunker. He's not just the shot blocker. He's a guy who can go out, set screens, get rebounds, attack the basket when he's from far away, and he can also face up and shoot. And he even hit a couple of three-pointers, which we've never seen him do. It's something he's trying to add to his game. And while it might not be a staple of his game, it shows that he can actually be a threat every now and then from the three-point line. But really, Cliff Alexander, to me, just took his game to a whole new level and said even though he's already ranked that high, he might have a chance to move up. So I think Cliff Alexander had a great weekend. He's my personal MVP. Rashad Vaughn, also a great weekend. I mean, he was really impressive for Playground and hit some big shots for them. That pretty much wraps up all of our coverage here for the Minnesota EYBL, Friday through Monday. Great weekend of basketball. But until next time, for Scott Burgess, I'm Ryan Easterling signing out.